Up until 2008, Missouri was considered a bellwether state for the last 100 years, voting correctly with the president that won the election regardless of the party. And Democrats actually had control of the state government through all of the 90s, and it was much more of a purple state going back and forth for the decades preceding. They also made sure to mention that everything has been hunky-dory and wonderful since the Republicans have taken control over the last 20 years. So I thought, let's do something a little different. Welcome to my Pajama Party TED Talk. Now, if this goes well, I might do some other topics, but let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm getting tired of showing these statistics. These are sort of overall generally that over the last 20 years, Missouri has definitely underperformed in most of the categories that matter versus the rest of the country. But let's specifically talk about economics. Here is GDP growth since 2008 in our state. You will notice that Missouri is at the very bottom, tracking far behind our neighbors and the average for the rest of the country. Now, I've heard a lot that is just due to the fact that cities suck in the U.S. Well then, surely, if we look at the rural communities, those are going to perform well, right? Here's the apples-to-apples comparison with the rest of the country average. You'll notice at the top, it's metropolitan areas, and then followed by rural areas. But down at the bottom, that's Missouri metropolitan areas and Missouri rural areas performing much more poorly than the rest of the country. So I guess that doesn't work. But that's GDP. What about personal income growth? Well, here's Missouri versus the United States. You'll notice that we're tracking 16% behind the country average. And if you look at the trend since 2011, so over the last 10 years, we continue to fall farther and farther behind the rest of the country. Here's more data showing us tracking behind the rest of the U.S. and basically everything except for government assistance. Here's Missourians' wages remaining stagnant for the last 20 years. But here's your productivity increasing, so you're working harder and getting paid less. Oh, but don't worry, company CEOs are continuing to make more and more, while you pay more for your standard goods. But that's driven by government spending, right? Nah, it's driven by corporate profits, which is very different than any other period of inflation that we've had across our country. You'll notice current is in the red, and historical is in the blue. So corporate profits is the driver. But they'll say it was just as bad when Democrats were in charge. Actually, no. See, look, we kept with the U.S. while Democrats were in charge, then Republicans took over, and whoopsie noodles. This includes a more recent time frame to show you. Oh, look, a Democrat governor. Oh, but he couldn't do anything because of a GOP supermajority. So the rich get richer, and Republicans tell you that we need to cut more taxes. But look, the U.S. is already one of the lowest tax countries in the entire world.